reign everywhere. Then we shall all be free. We light this flame to hold that moment in our spirit and in our minds until we can make it real. I want to open this morning with a little brief statement from Muhammad Ali. Wars of nation are fought to change maps, but wars of poverty are fought for map change. I'm going to repeat that. Wars of nation are fought to change maps, but wars of poverty are fought to map change. Think about that. And that's what we want to do, is change the map. Rise if you're able and willing, and let's sing 134. Our world is one world. Our world is one, just here in green make many homes where our hearts can hear a different call. Do we have any children with us this morning? We have a lot of children with us, but thank you, Diane. Diana, we'll sing you out in a minute. Charlene Talcott is going to give us a story for all ages, and it will be just for us.
I'm a little mixed because this is my Sunday to do RE, and I was looking forward to that, but also I wanted to hear the sermon too, so I get to do that. So our story for all ages is a little bit different. It's a series of riddles, and some of you may have heard this series of riddles before. So I'm going to ask that if you know the answer, count to your head in 5 before you say it to give other people a chance to figure it out. All right? But there's a purpose for these riddles. Right? So 100 boxes weighing 1,000 pounds each are on a plane. One of those boxes falls off the plane. How many are left? Somebody didn't count to 5. But 99. Right. How do you put an elephant in the refrigerator? How do you put an elephant in the refrigerator? You open the door, you put the elephant in, and you close the door. Now, how do you put a giraffe in the refrigerator?
Open the door, put the giraffe in, close the door.
Oh, you got to take the elephant out first. Okay. So, the lion decides to have a party and invite all the animals in the kingdom. And all the animals except one come. Which one did not come to the party? You're supposed to count to 5. The giraffe is in the fridge. Oh, a girl wants to cross a crocodile-infested river, but anyone that's crossed before has been eaten by the alligator, or by the crocodiles, sorry. But she's able to get all the way across unscathed. Why? No, the giraffe's still in the fridge. All the crocodiles are at the lion's party. Well, she crosses safely, and she gets out of the river, but she dies anyway. What happened? It could be the party's over. But a box fell out of a plane and crushed her. So the moral of that story is, it's silly riddles too, but is the moral I took out of this was that Thanksgiving's coming up, and we're talking to all the holidays. We're talking to different people. Children, I have blessed to have my grandchildren often with me, but they go on and on and on and on and on. And what my dad used to say is you go around your elbow to get to your rear end. But that first part that was like, well, that was a simple little math equation. That doesn't mean anything. And then everything else went to animals. But that was the important part. So when you're talking to your children or grandchildren or your aging family members and friends, pay attention to what they're saying so you get everything, because they might have that one little throwaway comment that's the important part that they want you to know.
One, we have an opportunity for discussion as necessary, something called Wednesday Coffee and Conversations. So after Tuesday, if you have a desire to sit down with some folks that you're comfortable talking with, that's a good place to do it. We are also going to have the ability next Sunday, if we have a group that wants to have a discussion or a talk about that, we'll do that next Sunday also. But I wanted to make you aware of some programs that UUA is putting on just for us. On Wednesday, a Zoom on after the election day, Wednesday, November 6th from 8 to 9 p.m. You can do that. We thought about doing it collectively at that hour. There's not too many people who are going to drive in here to do it, so do it from your home. You can talk about it later with us. Then they're going to have one called The Way Forward, which will be whatever the day is after the election is called, and we all know that this time it may be a while before the election is called because of the tightness of the race. And then on Tuesday, November 19th, there's going to be one called The Way Forward. Again, I have this little thing out there on the table in the foyer, tells you how to register for it. You can pick up a copy of the dates. So if you have a desire to talk to other folks about what might be happening this week and any concerns that you have, wanted to make you aware of those. Thank you.
I find myself here at UUFR less and less because I am traveling more and more for my farmer program. But when I read about the service today, I thought Lois really likes that stuff about how UUFR provides for the community in several ways. So I made an effort to bring her here from RWC. Doing great, and she's right here up front. She's now in a private room, so if you visited her previously, she's now got her own room, and this is wonderful. And returned a few days ago from 2 weeks in Malawi. I could see that Mom is returning to her old self, and just, I'm very happy for that. And then, something quickly about me, which is on Friday, I got good news. I've been coming and going a lot this year, and there's one farmer-to-farmer implementer, which sends volunteers to 3 or 4 different countries. And there's 9 implementers which share in serving 36 developing countries. So this time of year, every one of the 9 chooses a volunteer of the year. So they were choosing me because of the work that I did in both Rwanda in June and Egypt in August, and I couldn't be more thrilled. Thank you.
I just wanted to give everybody an update on voting and stuff. There's no problem. As so far, anyway, I only need to produce my driver's license, and nobody's going to question my statehood, whatever you want to call it. So, just to let you know. It's a joy, it's a joy.
State my concern. I think Volunteer of the Year is always Volunteer of the Year. No, that's what's that deal? That is an awesome thing. I think we should all standing ovation. That is tremendous. My concern is that we seem to all be concerned about voting, because I guess it's an election in 2 days. I'm an election officer. We have heard a lot of concerns, and I read the news. I think we're pretty safe here in Lancaster County, but around the country, there's threats of violence. I expect people to question somebody else's citizenship. We were told they have a driver's license, they're on my poll book, they vote. You have a problem, go to State Board of Elections. You know, we don't get into that there. There's always funny stories of people that get, you know, they'll stand up and say, I don't like any of these people, and tear it all up and throw it on the ground and stomp on it. I've seen that happen. You know, we always have great stories to tell. But what I'm going to ask you all to do is pray, send out your good vibes, cast your spell, whatever you do. And for all the poll workers across the country, that we all stay safe and have a good day. So, And also the people that are just doing their 2 hours in their party tents, you know, they're right out there in the open, so, you know, have concern for them too.
Well, I have a personal concern, but I have to say my joys far outweigh it. So starting with the concern, I had something removed off of my leg. It is a squamish, a fast-growing, so I don't know what that is going to entail in the future, surgery, and how that'll handle, but, so that's the bad one. My joys, yesterday, Women's March, Williamsburg, there were 7 of us from UUFR there. It was, I still a little high off of it. Very hopeful, a lot of beeping horns, thumbs up. It was a wonderful feeling. And if you look at the news, I mean, thousands were up in DC and then across the nation. So there is, you know, women and you wonderful ally men. I mean, it was a wonderful experience, very good. Let's see, my other joy is the 2nd annual Friendsgiving. I've already had people saying, hey, I want to come to that. So if you don't get on the RSV sheet that's under the name tags, just throw me an email, that would be great. We had 18 people last year. It's very close to my heart. Such an important thing, I think, to all get together and be thankful and joyful, especially with all the other on in this world. I got to Judy Collins on Friday with a girlfriend. 85 years old, Judy Collins.
Did she remember her work?
She was phenomenal. She was telling jokes. Oh my, I wish I could, you know, they were so good too, but I don't, this old brain. She was at the Strathmore in Bethesda, Maryland. Yeah. I mean, she was a whole actor on the stage. I mean, she kind of tottered out in her little boot. But she was phenomenal. It was great.
It's a delight to be here. You know, I've been traveling a little bit too. And I got back from Mexico, getting ready to go do a trip in Europe, primarily around Milan. I'm introducing archetypes, the 10 generic archetypes to organization design and organization development communities. And I'm a little enthralled with that. When I arrived in Mexico City, I always like to go early and stay late because I like to cross the road, talk to strangers, never know what will occur, and I love that because amazing things occur. Everything is occurring, and again, if we get out of our journey and pay attention, everything is there. But there will be crowds of people. Well, I went down there and it was Claudia's inauguration. The first woman elected, Jewish woman elected in Mexico City. And I put on my intro to my workshop that picture plus a picture of Kamala on the Oprah show. Because on the Oprah show, Kamala said, you know, what would it be like if strangers were just neighbors we hadn't met yet? Love that sentiment. The other thing that I think is really important that is so critical, and we've kind of touched on it here, is, you know, the Native American perspective of which wolf do you feed, the light wolf or the dark wolf? Every time we get tied up in the drama, the cloud, the storm, we are feeding the dark wolf. So can we capture ourselves and shift? My training as a warrior for the protection of the human spirit told me it's not about hope. It's about we are called throughout history to stand up for what is right regardless of what the outcome is. And the other thing from a quantum perspective is that I know the outcome of the election. And it doesn't matter anything else, I know it. And that knowing is from my heart. And that's my intention. And to me, it's really, really important for us to have the courage, regardless of the circumstances, to stand for what we all stand for. The distractions of the storm are low energy. They're magnetic. They pull us down. And we get trapped in it. But how quickly do we catch ourselves and come back and focus not on what we don't want, but what we do want? And we are creating, from a quantum perspective, the world from our thoughts. And how many of our thoughts are creating what we want and how many are in fear? We cannot be creative human beings when we are in the lower brain. There's a couple of other words there too. So how do we recognize who we are as these animal beings that are having this amazing experience, and that we're susceptible to good, bad, right, or wrong, which again, it's just low energy or high energy, but we add those good, bad, right, or wrong things to it in our cultures. And that means we're floating down the river. We need to stand up and choose what it is that we want to create. And there's my bell right there. And so that's my joys and concerns.
Are there more joys and concerns? Bill, we could have listened to you for the next hour, and boy, you just hit some strings with me. Thank you for that.
I saved up some time for when I wasn't here.
Okay. But we have a long service in front of us, so let's move forward. And I want to hear it for octogenarians. Yay, Judy Collins. I mean, those of us that have joined that day, we are strong. Well, let's get on. As a caring fellowship, we lift up every joy, every gladness. We hold every hurt, every sadness, spoken and unspoken this morning. But I do have a joy first. I am very joyful on this program today with my trustee partners. And as we were preparing the talk for you today, I overwhelmed myself and I overwhelmed us at the work that we do, especially within Servetus. And so I hope you enjoy hearing about what this team of 3 people do during the year to combat poverty in our counties. So that's my joy. And this is the joy for all of those unspoken this morning. Now, Tom has a reading.
Some of those things I heard, I kind of like what was better than what I'm about to say. So if you had a plane with, was it 100? Well, but I'm obligated to go in another direction here. Now, reading typically means reading someone else's words. We use anything but typical. A reading can also mean things like reading the tea leaves, reading the terrain, or reading your own comfort zones. Jim Mellett, a good friend from our UU church in Birmingham, Bloomfield, Michigan, stopped by this summer. He and his wife had retired to Florida more than a decade ago, where she had passed away. Kate, his wife, was the stronger personality. Jim had taken a reading of his own anxiety level with the effects of hurricanes and had opted to relocate to the mountains. Carolina. Readings don't always work out. He's okay, but is sick of hauling water in blue jerry cans. At early UUFR, we took a reading of the risks of owning a home of our own that led to funding an endowment controlled by your trustees to protect against the uninsurable, like flood and building settlement so on. Our reading of this location within an abandoned house in the midst of a black community was a good choice. Then in clearing trees, a dump truck sunk to its axles after a rain, requiring a crane to remove it. Then we found softness while digging the footings in the northeast corner. Readings from a soils engineer's equipment said solid ground was there, but down about 6 feet. We poured deeper footings. Our readings of the flood level during Ernesto reached up the backyard all the way to the septic tanks. I get lost easy at my age. So that encouraged us to notice the WPA ditches on a J and improve the rainwater management system with pumps. With a building, our building addition has carefully engineered footings in the trouble spot. That building endowment is there, healthy, and protecting our distant future. Reading the future of the most challenged youngsters in our 4 counties is not encouraging. You may wish to peruse the life's work of Dr. Ruby Payne referred to in the bulletin quotes, or be familiar with today's academic gap between children of poverty and their more fortunate peers. Your elected trustees are doing some things about that too. Your trustee team would like to tell you more in a few minutes so you can share the joys of our progress, get a good reading on our future.
Reflection, take a minute to find your inner peace and serenity. The offering we take each Sunday is a reminder of the form of love we call generosity. It is how we show that we believe it is important to gather together in this place to help our community and to say yes to the values that we share. Your gift this morning will be most gratefully received. If you are a first-time visitor, please let the basket pass you by. Your presence is gift enough. Can donate online at www.uufrva.org. Look for the donate button. Please know that we will be good stewards of your gifts. Thank you. So, now to our program. Let me introduce you to our speakers, who you all know, so I'm not going to do grand introductions, and to the issues that are the students that we serve on your behalf. First Spark, Kids First, Servita scholarships, major tools a trustee team use on your behalf to help end the of generational poverty in our communities. The Servitas endowment trustees manage sometimes $30,000 to $40,000 a year from the endowment fund returns each year to support youth out of poverty and enrich their lives. These are young children, new daycare program we'll talk about, and scholarships that are generous scholarships. We're about the most generous scholarship that I see at awards night in Middlesex High School. Speaking to you this morning on the Servitas efforts to combat poverty are trustees Tom Kinney, Barbara Haynes, Servitas advisory team member Tom Parrish, and me. I will not further introduce because they're well known already. Before their studies, I do want to offer a general introduction to the Servitas scholars, 4 of whom we select each spring to support with assistance during their university or career training years. Our scholars choose different paths, all leading to careers and incomes their parents could only dream of. Most are first-generation university students. Some follow siblings who have paved the path for them, paved the way for younger siblings. They embrace the importance of education and work, and they are so impressive. They excel academically. They excel in extracurricular activities and in their personal lives as well. Jobs, community involvement, commitment to their faith, all while they are taking rigorous classes. Servitas is helping or has helped prepare doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, physical therapists, sports medicine professionals, scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, cybersecurity experts, artists, musicians, marketing, investment and wealth managers, and more. My little squad in Middlesex County are thriving in nursing study at RCC, going out into the world at the end of this semester, biochemistry and anthropology at Eastern State University in North Carolina, nurse practitioner in making at Ferrum College, and a candidate for Doctor of PT in VCU School of Medicine. All of them are well set to break the cycle of poverty for themselves and hopefully their families. And now for more, I believe Barbara, Tom, Barbara, Tom, we'll just take turns being up here. So I introduce to you Tom Parrish, whom we all heard from last week, so we need no introduction.
I won't be as lengthy today.
Oh, please.
You said I'm just an advisor to this. This is my first year. I listened to the trustees speak last year, and I was very impressed by what UU is doing, so I said I'd like to be involved. Here, my job was to take a look at be the sponsor for the Lancaster County students. I will tell you this, I was very, very impressed with the students that we saw, the grade point averages, the number of DEs, which are, I got to remember what that stands for. It's dual enrollments, you know, getting college credits already by going to the community college, the number of advanced courses that they had been taking, and what have you. Grade point averages were well above, you could have multiplied my high school average times 2 and still wouldn't have made to what they were averaging. I was just very impressed by it. I would say this, would like to see more active participation by the Lancaster County counselors. I don't think that there's enough counseling going on what's available to the students. I have been talking to them just recently, making some suggestions, and I intend to follow through with it. You can do better on telling these students what's available. My one example was ROTC scholarships. Each one of the services offers ROTC scholarships. Full ride. They don't brief them. They expect that the Air Force ROTC chief is supposed to do that, but they don't brief it. I'm going to try to figure out how, some way, we can get out there and get that word out. Over to you, Barbara.
In my role as a Civitas trustee, I've been following the scholars that graduated from Northumberland High School. I live down the road in Louisville. So, and our program started in 2017. I presently correspond with 7 scholars in college and beyond. And interesting not only to follow them through their college careers, but to see how they set up their careers and their lives and their homes. So this has been a really pleasure for me. I know that once they're a Civitas scholar, they always are a Civitas scholar. They need to correspond with me, even when they're out there working. They came for most part, as mentioned, from very challenging circumstances, and they have prevailed. They include Alice, who married after she entered college and had to drop out for work. She let us know that she was still interested in furthering her education and is now in Baylor University in Texas. After graduation in 2025, she plans to apply to the Army Physical Therapy Unit in San Antonio, Texas, and she plans to earn a doctorate in physical therapy. Also, Lucinda. Lucinda found her passion for working improve the environment while she was at ODU, and so she presently is working as an orchard manager with the Meadowview Research Farms, conducting testing and research to restore the American chestnut tree, which is functionally extinct. And if you go throughout Virginia, in some of the rural areas, you'll see the splinters. Some of them still exist that were made from those chestnut trees that were cut. Then there's Anna and Caroline, both majoring in the field of nursing, both working toward advanced degrees in the field. Anna, having graduated from VCU, works full-time in Michael Doctors Hospital in Richmond. And Caroline, currently at James Madison University, is determined to move through her undergraduate requirements to the nurse practitioner level in the shortest time possible. I do want to do an update on David. I had talked about David before. David was the first Civitas scholar that I work with from Northumberland County. He came from no permanent home. His mother was in prison. His dad was on the scene. And so he was so determined when he was in high school and went to Virginia Tech to succeed. He now is associate scientist at a global pharmaceutical firm in Madison, Wisconsin, doing very important work in research work in cancer treatment and the new RNA technology. We're just so proud of him. As you can see, it's been our privilege to work with this amazing group of young people. And we know as we work with them and they go out in the world, they're going to make an amazing difference in the future.
We currently have 19 kids that we are financially supporting. And we give them a larger scholarship at first, and then year by year, as long as they're in school, or if they drop out and come back to school, we continue to give them financial support. And it's really tough to pick among the 19 as share with them, but I'll pick one here. A UUFR Civitas Scholarship recipient from Matthews had an outstanding high school record, but with a single mom with an annual income of only $5,000 and a home assessed for taxes at $84,000, she really needed help. She was ejected from George Mason University in her second year due to not paying her tuition on time. The root cause? Poor money management. plus dependence upon some weak promises. She had discovered that her peers at GMU had received from their parents basic money management training that she had missed. She moaned that some had even been taken to banks to learn about savings accounts, loans, and money management. She grew up in a different culture, no funds to manage. Through nearly 3 months of email exchanges, we helped her understand cash flow, establish a budget, plan her income and her expenses, and start a part-time job search, and to get back on track at EMU toward her goal in computer science. But also everyday living skills that she had missed in a household barely existing from paycheck to maybe or maybe not another paycheck, with no plan for a financial future. We stick with these kids and help them in any way we can. Okay, moving on. In 2011, UUFR members examined 6 areas of activity in order to choose our niche to make a measurable change for better in our 4 counties. The vote was to end generational poverty, which we felt also had an anti-racist. Our research into what works led to the National Institute of Early Education Research at Rutgers that had found in a 5-decade-long study that about the only program that proved successful was high-quality 3 pre-K. From that, we planted the seed for UUFR's Kids First Foundation to bring 3K to our 4 county school systems. Those classes blossomed in Lancaster and Middlesex schools, but are still just buds in Matthews and Northumberland. We continue to water and fertilize those buds. In 2015, our Servetus Endowment Fund, managed by your elected trustees, joined this end of generational poverty train, adding support with its book per month per child in all 3 pre-K classes, and scholarships for all these high school kids that we've mentioned. Your trustees continue to monitor the growing science of understanding early child development, especially where the development of infants and toddlers of poverty fall behind. Some of you might recall the Kansas and Alaska study that got quite a bit of general press a decade or more ago. That study noted that a middle class or higher child heard 500,000 positive more words like good job than negative words like don't by the time of starting kindergarten. Whereas the generational poverty child heard the reverse, 125,000 words more negative than positive words, which slow their development and lower their self-confidence. Understanding child development research continues. A research report last year addressed the process by which an infant's auditory portion of its brain becomes able to recognize the specific sounds of its native language. That happens from birth and ends about 9 months, when unused neurons are assigned to other purposes. What that means is we English speakers the opportunity to hear and say the O sound in German, or to the Japanese speakers to be able to differentiate between the L and the R sound, is lost while they're yet a baby. Those of you who have tried to speak German or have spoken English to native Japanese know what I'm talking about. So here is what that has to do with UUFR's niche. Accelerating development and filling deficits can and does happen in high-quality daycare. Daycares that are conscious of and function as infant and toddler learning centers. If we could only upgrade the more daycares to learning centers. The Vision Survey of the Northern Neck identified the unmet need among the families living on the edge for affordable, high-quality daycare. The service organizations, including social services, did not even identify that in the survey, what they thought was needed. Thus, we have a match between the need and the opportunity to make a difference in child development for generational poverty families with increasing employment availability for the parents. This growing science of child development planted the seed for another step forward in UUFR's niche in trying to end generational poverty. Since 2 of your elected trustees are also officers in UUFR's first foundation, we studied what might be productive. Now, I'll turn this over to Celane to fill you in on our progress to date. I'll be back for a wrap-up.
I'll be quick. I'm going to introduce you to 3 entities. First Spark, Ready Regions, and Ready Region Chesapeake Bay, and 2 individuals, and Nancy Knoll. First Spark is a nonprofit organization in Newport News providing quality early education support to providers and parents, and they are government, they receive state contracts to do that. They are also a lead organization in the state's Ready Regions network. Ready Regions is a state regional network of 5 regions in the state providing what First Spark does, support to providers and quality early childhood education. The Ready Region Chesapeake Bay is a region we share with Tidewater, the Peninsula, Northern Neck, and Peninsula. Diane Umstead is executive director, and Nancy Knoll is the staff in our region for these services. And I'm sure you can guess the reason that I list these, because must we have a financial relationship with them? And indeed we do. A couple of years ago, Tom and I began to muse on what kind of mischief Kids First and Service could partner on next to expand the battle on poverty for young kids and their families. The Kids First classes in Lancaster and Middlesex, we only support them for 3 years, and then the schools take over, and that was a big negotiation with each of those schools that Tom was responsible for. Those kids are in elementary school. We only send them books now, and we cheer on the reports that we get that they're doing well. The next real challenge was for those younger than 3. Tom referenced a study, the Wiley study, surveys from a few years ago earlier, identifying quality daycare. First issue, of course, lack of providers. Why and what could we do to build more? Well, the 2 key barriers were terrible, burdensome bureaucratic paperwork that takes so much time from the providers that they steal it from the kids, and the lack of easily accessible staff training in our rural area. So we considered for 2 seconds to start our own daycare program the same way, let's show them how to do it in this county, and maybe it could be a training center. And that was about 2 seconds, and then we put that option in the rear. What else could we do? Could Kids First and Servitas hire a navigator to work with providers on paperwork issues, forms, questionnaires, reports? staff training, so their staff didn't have to drive to Richmond or further for training. We thought that would ever direct hire for, so we were just trying to figure out how to make that work and where we would go to find somebody. Bam, we got a call from Diane Umstead. At that time, she was from Better Beginnings. She morphed into First Spark. She was working with the state to become the lead agency in the Chesapeake Ready Regions area to provide support to the providers, to figure out why the providers were having a hard time, to work with the families, to expand the number of providers in the area, exactly what we had been talking about for a year and scratching our head trying to figure out. And they were going to be moving into the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula with their government contract, the gift right at our feet. We felt slightly territorial for minutes and suspect for just about 5 minutes. When we met her, she wowed us with her energy and the commitment she had to exactly what we were talking about. She could offer the navigator training we saw. By the fall, now that was in the spring, by the fall, after months of meetings, emails, state funding issues, negotiations for funding to cover losses from cuts in the state budget, working with Leslie Franklin, Leslie Franklin at the Wiley Foundation, able to negotiate a proposal and final solution to a First Spark funding. $32,000, $16,000 from Servetus and $16,000 from Wiley Foundation, it was lovely to be doing this collaboratively because the Wiley Foundation has done so much work in this area. With funding, they were able to hit the ground running. I think we sent the check in early 2024. Nancy Knoll was hired, and they are rocking. We don't hover, but we do stay in touch, and we know they're doing well. Recently, we attended a meet and greet morning they hosted in the Lancaster Library with providers, state and local agencies, and professional early childhood association representatives. It was an impressive meeting, and we believe that they are going to make a difference. It's not going to solve everything. They are on the road to building at least growing our quality day, early childhood and early learning, not daycare, but early learning opportunities for young children in this area from birth until they can get into a pre-K, hopefully. So that is our latest endeavor, and we are thrilled that we were able to dream it up and have it show up, and we will be following along with them. Tom?
And Nancy Knoll's focus is on the 4 counties that we are supporting. So that was really great. They had not been into these counties prior to our stepping forward. Okay, wrap up on a few. How are your trustees fit into UUFR's activity? We trustees are trusted to make sure our 4 endowments do the job promised to those who funded those endowments. You're likely familiar with endowments related to your schools, colleges, or universities that are typically funded by the alums, controlled by alums, dedicated to using the earnings with the long view, and protected from invasion by the everyday operating boards under pressure to meet short-term needs. Your trustees' returns on our investments versus the 8 Ivy League endowment schools, the endowments of the 8 Ivy League schools. Last year, in comparing our returns versus theirs, we ranked number 3. The year before, we were number 1. And we beat all of them. The year before that, we beat Columbia. So you should be pleased. Not bad for our little church. UUFR has 4 endowments. Servetus funds community outreach. Pathways of Remembrance maintains our memorial area. A new ministerial endowment will, when it's fully funded, pay a portion of our minister's salary. And our Building and Grounds endowment guards against catastrophe. The threats of catastrophe have evolved from an active membership of 25 about 20 years ago, and a membership that could have dropped to half that, still trying to support a building. And now we have a membership of around 70 and a building investment of over $500,000, with still a risk of floods, foundation settling, hurricane, and so on, all being not able to be covered by insurance. Many of you here would likely not be here with us today if we were still a relatively low profile and meeting in the Women's Club, a converted small house. We are so glad you're here, and we hope you share the joy of what we together are accomplishing. If you are interested in our scholarship program, aiding the little ones of poverty, or securing UUFR's financial future, please let me know by email or other means. Tom Parrish did that a year or so ago, and now he's changing lives too. Back to you for comments, questions, discussion.
We are at 11:30. Do you continue, or do you want to just talk out in the?
I think it's very important that everybody know where all this money is coming from that we're giving away in the community. It's a great thing, but I don't think people necessarily understand. For instance, the Servetus Fund was one particular very, and the others have been given by members of the UUFR over the years. But I think everybody needs to know that this isn't just that we have all this money that we can do anything.
Yeah, we wish we did. Lynn, I'll answer that, but I also want to honor the $81,000 that we have in our budget, in the budget this year to support charities, and you may or may not know that, but a portion. 8,100. Did I say 1,000? I'm sorry, 8,100. There's a formula in the budget, and each year we determine, Lynn and Sharon determine how much we give, but we have a commitment to give a percentage of our proceeds to feedback in the community. And this year's, it's totally separate, but I think I do think noting that we have other charitable organizations we support out of the when you pay your donations. You want to answer the? I'd like to come up.
Go to the microphone.
Go to the microphone. Nobody can hear you.
The Servetus Fund primarily those funds were from 2 sources. One is a couple that will remain anonymous. Another was from another very active and founder member here, which was Dr. Pirko Graves. I might have had something to do with that because I was the trustee of her trust, and I was also the executor of her will when she passed away in 2015. So that's where Servetus comes from. The other funds, the endowment fund, the Building and Grounds was a part of our original fundraising activity here, because we said if we're going to go ahead and own a building, we got to cover the risk involved in doing that. So that's where that one came from. The Pathways of Remembrance Memorial area is primarily from those who have memorialized in the area. And the ministerial one is from when we decided that we were getting close to being able to hire a minister in 2015, we said, okay, how do you want to do that? And the board decided they wanted to do that through an endowment to cover half of a quarter-time minister, or half-time minister. So that has been, various people have contributed to that one. That's the only one right now that needs money. There's another fund that's available strictly to the board members, not to the trustees, built up over the years. For so many years, we ended up with a residual at the end of the year. There's more given than what we had to spend. We bring that in investments. Around 160,000. So that's another fund that I think the board can draw as both an opportunity fund. Okay, so there's an overview of where the money.
Endowments, people that donated money to a particular endowment. With Pirco was very prescriptive her money. Are protected criteria on how it can be spent. Okay, other questions, concerns? And again, we encourage, we're a small team and we would love to have more people in the do. So let us know if you're interested in any of these. I believe we're going to stand up and sing Song 121, We'll Build a World.